Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to get my lighting correct. How is everybody? I am going to paint a bumblebee today. We're going to be painting a yellow flower with a yellow bee. And I have not practiced this, so this could go very wrong or it could go very right. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just pulling up the picture on my screen right now. If you want to paint along, it's not necessarily a tutorial because I'm just kind of figuring it out myself here. But what you'll need are watercolor paper. I'm just using my Strathmore watercolor cards. And for a kit, I've got my Winsor Newton kit. And you know what? This is not the brush I usually like to have. Then some of the kits have this fatter brush, little Cotman kits. I like the skinnier one, so I'm going to put that aside. So I've got my Winsor Newton paints. Hopefully the yellows are going to work. I'm just going to give them a quick spritz here. Let them get nice and juicy. I do have a spray bottle. I've got my water, and for brushes, I'm hoping that these will cut it. I haven't used this one. It's the King Art Dagger Brush 3/8 gold, and this one is not a natural hairbrush. It's synthetic, so it may or may not work really well. We'll see. There's a close-up of it. You can see that synthetic brushes usually are a little bit more stiff, and they don't tend to hold quite as much water. So we'll see how this goes. And then I also have my Princeton #1 script brush, which, look at that, it's got a wild hair right there. I'll wet that, see if I can get that to straighten out. So I'm thinking this for the details for the bee and such. So if you're here, just let me know in the comments. I do have the live chat going, so if you have some questions and you want to ask them while I'm live here, oops, feel free to chat away with me. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm just getting my live chat up on the screen here. And let me know you're here. I don't have my regular YouTube channel up, so I don't know if I think I can just see you in the live chat. So if you're here in the live, that's where you want to ask your questions. And don't forget to give the thumbs up, share, so we can get other folks that maybe don't want to paint alone to come paint with us. Oh, I also have my G410 G-Tech C4 pilot pen, and that one's got the very fine tip on it as well. So hopefully that, again, if I need to have some little details in there, that's going to really help me see those, or to do the little tiny ones. Okay, I'm just moving my screens around, trying to find my picture. I've got it pulled up on the screen. I wish I had it pulled up on the screen for you, but I can't do that live in here. But I will post the photograph in my student group. If you're part of the student group, that's where it will be. And also for my patrons. And I'm probably going to be adding a printable sketch so they can follow along for my patrons. So if you're in my Patreon group, you can grab the sketch because I have not sketched it in yet. So I'm going to put that up there afterward. Okay, so if we're ready, watercolor flower with a bee tutorial coming up. I am going to be challenging myself with this one because this is I'm going to try to keep it loose, but we'll see how this goes. Do I want to sketch it in? I think I'm going to go without a sketch. I don't know if I can get the shape of it completely in here, but I'm going to try. So it's kind of an ovally shape. So I'm going to start off with a very light lemony yellow. Now this is great too if you have a hard time with your amount of water. I'm going to be doing this on dry paper, and I don't want this to be really, really bright. So I am going to water down that yellow a little bit. I just want a very light shade. So we do have kind of an ovally shape for the flower. So I think I'm going to start. This is going to be the center here. So I'm going to just put the center in really lightly. And I'm not even filling in the whole area. Let's see if I can get the size of it about right. So we've got a little yellow, light yellow. I do have a little bit of a reflection on here. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Maybe I can, ooh, is that too dark? That might be too dark. But if I turn it on, let's see here if I can just bring it down a little bit. There, I think you can see that. So it's kind of a light yellow that's in here, just a center. And then I want to mix up quite a bit of color because I don't want it to dry. I may have to redo it. So I'm just adding some water to my tray. And now we're going to start with the petals. So the petals tend to fan out. And they do have like a little bit of a tooth to the ends of this one. So they are kind of side by side here. Again, the little toothy thing might be a little sharp. I want to make sure that you can see that okay. Ooh, getting blurry. I'm using my overhead camera, which is it's supposed to be in high definition, but it looks, I know that when YouTube shares the videos, there you go, that's a little better. Sometimes they come in a little bit more blurry. Not as bad as when I'm doing this though with my Zoom ones. They're really blurry. Oops. Hopefully I'm on here live. I haven't seen anybody pop on yet, so it's always the nerve-wracking thing. So if you are here, just leave me a note in the chat. Let me know that you're here. Otherwise, could be messing this up. I'm so bad with, as you know, if you've been following me, my lives, I'm not very good technology-wise. So I think it's pretty rounded. The flower is. Even up here, these are pretty tall. It's starting to dry already. Again, I don't have a whole lot of detail, and you can barely see it because it's so light. And the reason I'm doing it really light at first is because I want to get some darker colors in there when I do the next layer of petals. So if I mess anything up, I might just do the background. So that's pretty good. Just like that. I think I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow. This is a cad yellow, so it's a more vibrant, and I'm going a little darker. Just going to dot around the edge so I can see where that center of the flower is. And again, I'm not even doing this with a sketch right now. I'm just going in, seeing if I can figure it out. I might do a second one if this doesn't turn out so great. So that is still a little bit wet in there, so you can see that that yellow is moving around a little bit. And we do have a little bit of orange. This is the cad red. So let's just add just a hair. You can see it's just tinting it a little bit. And I'm going to dot some of this in here as well. Hopefully it's not going to be too orange. It's almost a muted color, like a yellow ochre. So I'm just going to tap again around there. So I'm kind of letting this first layer dry as I'm doing that. Can't really see the orange really well in the video that I'm looking up at, but down here it looks quite bright. Maybe I'll take a picture. Let's take a picture here too. That way I can share the images with you. There, got one picture. I might do that with the steps along the way. Okay, so I think I need to dry that. And we will add the next layer. So this is going to be layering. You can see I've got a lot of color that's bled around there, but that's all right. We're going to add some darker values in there afterward. Let's dry that real quick. Okay, I think that's good enough. Yeah, so it did move out a lot there, but that's okay. So this is more dry now. Maybe I can turn the light back on a little brighter so you can see the color a little bit better. It's still very, you can see how very, very pale it is. And I'm hoping that when we add a next layer, it's going to really show up a little bit better. So if you're just joining us, we are doing a impromptu kind of live. I haven't done this before. So sometimes you can get things that come out really good, and sometimes we're not so good, but we're painting a yellow flower with a little bee on it. And I want to say this was Jill Burden's original photographs that she sent or added to our private group. And they all voted on it, which one I should paint. So this was the one that won. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more of a warmer tone yellow using the cad yellow, a little bit of orange, and I may add a little bit of the yellow ochre in here. That looks nice and warm. So I still want this fairly watery. So let's just see. I want to see if I can get some of those transparent colors to shine through on the under layer. So I'm going to look at my photograph again here. So we are going to layer this one right up. We're going to do a little bit of shading on the petals after the next one. And then you want to stick around to the end because we are going to add the bee to that as well. So yeah, so it does have a little bit darker. Ooh, that's really dark. So I'm going to lighten that up a little bit more. I'm going to come in with the other side. So the petals do have like these little teeth like in there on the ends. I'm not even sure what type of flower this is. And I'm just going to go around. This might be a little bit wide. Maybe even leave a little white space in there. And I'm just doing another layer. Let's come up a little bit more. Boy, the color is really off. You don't see the orange as much, which is really sad. But this petal here is a little shorter, kind of curled up in the front. It's almost flat on the side here. And then the one underneath it is the same. It's kind of lifted up. That's really hard to capture, isn't it? We've got another one coming on this side. I'm running out of paint. Let's mix up a little bit more here. Again, adding some water to it because I want it to be fairly translucent. I mean, that's the whole thing about watercolor, is to try to leave that transparency. And it's hard to do. That was, I do a lot of layering on mine. And I often will not go as light or keep it as light as I would normally like to. Okay. So we do have some shadows in there. That's a nice shade. And I think I'm going to dry that, and then I want to do a little bit more detail in the center. I think that's going to be dry enough. So I might switch to my number 1. And I'm going to add just a little touch of this blue to the orange, and maybe a touch of brown. Kind of want almost a gray shade. And I do have a little bit of detailing in amongst the petals here. So let's just put a few of those in. And this just separates them out a little bit. Yeah, these do have kind of following around here. And then we do have a little bit more dotting on the outside. I'm going to try to keep it somewhat loose. I don't want to put too much detail because you could be here for hours, which is not a bad thing. So again, I'm just dotting around, adding a little bit more detail in the center here. I don't need to do too much right there because I think that's where the bee's going to go. So I do have that really light shade on the outside. It's looking still a little pale, but I'd rather have it pale when I add that darker background. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch again back to this brush, and I'm going to add a little stem. It's kind of a vibrant color, so I'm going to do the green and the lemon yellow. And in the picture, we've got this little stem that kind of comes down from here. And then we do have a leaf shape there and another one here. That's it for that. There might be another one. Yeah, there's another one curved down here. And then let's add a little brown to that because it's a little darker down here. We can go right in with that. Let's come all the way up here. And then we have, I guess that's pretty much it for that. There's some little fuzzies that are on the outside. Let's get a little bit of reddish tint to that. Again, we'll try to keep it nice and light. All right, and then I'm going to mix up that orange. It's got a little bit of that darker value in there still, and there's a little bit of detail, a little darker on the inside of the petals here. Just give it a little light wash. It's just going to darken things up just a hair, not much. Okay. That's not too bad. I think I'm going to take a photograph again. That way I have at least a few steps for you guys so you can see it. Okay, I've got that one. And I think I need to dry that now. So it's really, really light. I don't often paint this light. It's just kind of interesting, entertaining. Okay, now let's do the bee. So I'm going to use a little bit of this blue. And it's not an ultramarine blue that I have in here. Looks like I had replaced it with, that might be a cobalt blue. So we'll see how we can get this close to black. It's going to be like a blue black, which is fine. So I'm using the umber with it. My favorite way to make dark brown or black is with blues and browns. That's just my favorite. And then we've got the bees kind of, it's almost in the top middle of the flower. So let's start with his little head. And he's kind of fuzzy. So I'm just taking the very tip of the brush and I'm kind of making that rounded shape. Let me come up a little closer for you. Can you see that? There we go. So that's his little head. And then we're going to give him a little space because there's like a little yellow behind it. And then there he's got like that little hump on his back. And it's almost like a little V shape. Let's hump him over a little bit more. So it's like upside down triangle kind of shape. There we go. Boy, the colors are really off on this. You wait till you see the color when I post the pictures. It's so much brighter. And then the back of him, this is where his little wings are coming out from. And then the back of him is kind of like these little upside down smiley faces. So I could switch my brush, but I'm just going to use the tip of this brush and I've got it held up really close to the ferrule. And he's kind of rounded here. And it gets a little bit smaller as we come down. We've got like a little V shape here. That's it. He looks a little long, but that's all right. We can round him up a little bit more here. Let's make him a little wider. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Remember, he's kind of fuzzy, and you've got the yellow of the flower behind it, so we don't really have to do much there. So that is the shape of the bee. And then he's got his little legs. And one's kind of tucked in underneath his wing here a little bit. So I'm just going to leave a little space sort of there. So there's one. And then he's got another one that's kind of sticking out down here and down. Dot, dot, dot. Okay. And he does have some wings. I'm going to use that same kind of just a light yellow. See if I can make his wings. I want to keep them, again, transparent. And that might be wet. Let's see if we get a little bleed here or not. I'm going to try to scoop around it. And then we can go back in with a little bit of pen work for that. Okay, that's good. I'm switching my brush again. I'm going to use my little thin one. I think I need a little bit more detail in the center. Let's see. I'm going to add a little yellow ochre to that. Just want it a little bit darker around the edges here. And maybe some more inside. We do have some nice shadow in here. just in a couple little spots. Okay. And they do have like a little hair on the stem, but I think I'm going to leave that out. Might just do a little bit of green mixed up with this. And just for another darker value, to give it a little bit of definition. We don't need a whole lot. Okay. And do we want to paint the back or the background in? Decisions. I think I'm going to, because it's just so pretty, and I think it's going to really make everything pop out. And then I'm waiting for the bee to dry because we'll do a little pen and ink detail. All right, so the outside of this one has got like a yellowy. We got to work fast with this because it's going to, it might dry really quick. And I can get a little bit of the edging on here with this. Maybe. Let's see here. So we've got bright yellow and green in the background here. I'm just going to dab in a little bit more of that green. And we're going to work our way around. So the rest of that is a little bit darker. And you can see I'm just kind of coming around this area, just kissing in where the edge of that flower would be. And then this is actually darker over here, so I'm going to add a little blue and brown and going a little bit darker in here. Really dark in between. I can shape in those petals a little bit more. So the thing about this with the background is you want to always be working in smaller sections, and I try to stop wherever there's going to be a little bit of a gap. Like I want to keep this wet as I work into this, because if it dries, I'm going to get an edge, a sharp edge, which I don't want. So I'm just kind of scooping around. I need a little bit more brown in there, I think. Get it a little darker. Actually, that's very blue, but that's pretty. In the picture, it's actually more black. Let's add a little bit more brown to it, see if we like it. So again, I'm trying to get those little edges in there. It's like little teeth that it has. It's strange. Again, I got to work quickly. Let's see, we kind of switch back as we get closer here to this side. It turns green again, or lighter. I'm just going to scoot up around here a little bit. Fill that in. Again, add a little bit of brown while it's wet. I'm going to mix it right on the page, so I just have a few darker areas here. This is starting to dry, so I have to be careful. I don't want to go into that too much. And then while it's wet, I think I'm just going to drop in, because it does have a little texture in there. Just drop in just a little bit of clean water in there. And it's going to give me a little bit of blurriness in the background there. And then we switch over here, and I'm going back to a darker green for this side. Let's see if I come up under here. Scooting around. That is a really close green to the rest of the green, so I'm going to give it a little bit of darkness here just to edge it a little bit more. And again, I'm dropping it in while it's wet. Bringing in those little peaks, just a few. Need to go a little darker here to make that pop. Ooh, there we go. And then I'm going to continue right around here with this green. And I don't have to get it super detailed here. Just want a couple little peaks in there. I think it comes up. We'll just come in a little bit more, give it a little bit more definition in there. Okay, I think that is going to be it for the background. We'll let that just kind of be. It's actually darker in the photograph up here too, but because I don't want to go back into it again and mess it up, so we'll just leave it. Let's dry it. So we're going to do a little bit more detail on the bee, and I think I'm going to go in a little bit darker on the flower itself. It's pretty light, pretty pale, but it's very pretty. But I think if we do one more glaze over the top of it, that is going to do it. I want to take a photograph again really quickly here. If you're just joining us, we are doing a live bee and flower painting that I had never tried before. Just like I like to give myself a big challenge, in front of the world. No big deal. And if you like it so far, make sure you hit the like button for me. That really helps my channel get seen, and hopefully we'll do some more of these. I think it's fun just to be in the afternoon painting along. I figure I might as well record for you guys and be here and chit chat rather than just me always painting by myself. I kind of like this. It's fun. All right, so I think I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. I think I'm going to add, like I said, the one more darker shade, and I don't want to get into this. It should be dry, but I just don't want to get too close to it. Let's mix it up in here. I'm going to do the cad yellow. That might be too dark, so I'm going to water it down again. And again, this is really helpful when you have a hard time with your colors if you're not understanding the water to pigment ratio. It really helps. I'm just dabbing it off on the side here, and I can tell if I'm going to get too much pigment or not by doing that. So if I add a little bit more water, you're better off to have, especially when you're doing glazes, a little bit more water so you don't get too bright. So I'm just going to go in. I think I can add a little bit more orange. Let's see if that, yeah. So that's definitely showing up. So I don't need to overdo this, but it's pretty, and it gives me just one more color, a little bit darker value in a couple of the areas here. I might have overdid it on this side, but that's all right. And what happens is if you do, and you can't really see it because it's so wet, if I come in a little closer, you might be able to see it. Again, the colors are really off. It's much prettier in person, but it will start to lift some of those colors. So you don't want to go over it too much, or you'll start to lift the background color out. So I need to put just a few more details in there because I messed it up on the side here. So let's add a little bit of that green again, just to separate some of those petals a little bit more. I need to do it on this side too, since I did it on that side. Okay. Well, that's good. We're going to leave it at that. I'm going to try not to overdo it too much. And then using my G4, C4, G-Tag C4, I always say that wrong. I'm just going to add a little bit more detail to the bee. Let's give him a little bit of wing action. Doesn't need much. We can see his little wing in behind there. Let's give him a little fuzz because he is fuzzy. Again, not a whole lot of detail. And I think I might want to add a little bit of white because it is hairy. the little stem. It's got a little bit of fine hair. So I'm using my Doc Martens Bleed Proof White for that. So I'm just going to dip it in the top, and I'm going to just add a little water to it because I don't want it to be stark white. I'd rather it dry, a little dull, than have it too bright. And tap off a little excess. And so it's got like these just a few little fine hairs that I can give it a little peach fuzz here. And they stick out this way too. I do have that little white rim around there, so it's not showing up a whole lot. So I need to come out just a little bit further there. We don't need a lot, just a little. And I'm trying to mimic the shape as much as I can. It does have some on the stem here too. And we do have a little bit of a highlight right here. Okay, I think that's it for the white. I think I need to go a little bit more yellow in the center of the flower. I'm just going to go in a little bit stronger pigment this time, just to brighten it up a little bit. So I have a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going right into it. I don't want to overdo this too much, but there. I think that's it. I could go with another wash over it to brighten it up a little bit more if I wanted to, and I might do that afterward, but I think that is going to be good. I'm going to take another photograph of it here real quick. I think that's going to be good for this go around anyway. How long have we been on here for? Almost 40 minutes. So let me peel the tape off for you. Take a look. So let me know if you guys enjoyed having the live here on YouTube. I also do a lot more in my Patreon. So if you're not yet a patron, I'd love to have you over there. I'm always experimenting in the group. They laugh at me. You never know what I'm going to do. I just go for it. It's part of the fun. Peel that off. Well, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. I think I might experiment a little bit more. I'm going to make sure I sign it. Where should I sign it? Maybe if you can see it there. Let's do it right along the stem here. There. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you go ahead and paint this, I would love to see it. So feel free to tag me either on Facebook or in Instagram. It's Kelly Chasse _fine art. And I would love to see yours. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you again real soon. I think I have a new video coming out tomorrow with a spooky girl. So look for that, and have a good one. Bye.